Alright, let's dive into a story that's equal parts frustrating and fascinating, the saga of Patrik Laine. If you're a hockey fan, you know the name. Drafted second overall in 2016, Laine was supposed to be the next big thing. But here we are, years later, and his career has taken a turn that nobody saw coming. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is how quickly things can shift in professional sports. One minute you're a can't-miss prospect, and the next, you're fighting just to stay relevant. So what happened? And more importantly, where does Laine go from here? Let's break it down. First off, the injuries. Man, the injuries. Laine has missed 55% of his potential games over the past few years. That's not just a stat, it's a career-altering reality. In my opinion, this is where the narrative starts to get complicated. Injuries are the great equalizer in sports. No matter how talented you are, if your body isn't holding up, the rest doesn't matter. But here's the thing, even with all that time on the sidelines, Laine has still managed to put up numbers. We're talking 74 goals and 151 points in the last 5 years. That's not elite, but it's not nothing either. What many people don't realize is that Laine's power play production has been a bright spot. 39% of his goals have come with a man advantage. So, yeah, he's not the player he was projected to be, but he's still got something to offer. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, his draft position. Looking back, was he worth the second overall pick? Probably not. But here's where I think people are missing the bigger picture. Laine is still tied for 7th in scoring among his draft class. That's not a fluke, it's a testament to his skill. If you take a step back and think about it, the 2016 draft class was stacked. Laine is right there with guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who he was traded for. So, while he hasn't lived up to the hype, he's far from a bust. It's just that the hype was insane. So where does Laine fit in today's NHL? Honestly, it's a tough question. His defensive game has always been a weakness, and with his injury history, teams aren't exactly lining up to sign him. But here's where it gets interesting. Laine's value is almost entirely tied to the power play. Teams like the Flames, Islanders, or Kings, all of whom had abysmal power plays last season, could see him as a low-risk, high-reward option. A detail I find fascinating is that the Islanders were reportedly interested in a professional tryout contract earlier this summer. That's not exactly a vote of confidence, but it shows there's still some interest out there. Speaking of contracts, what can Laine realistically expect? Personally, I think a PTO makes sense for both sides. Teams want to see if he's fully recovered, and Laine needs to prove he's still got it. If he does make a roster, it'll likely be a minimum deal with performance bonuses. What this really suggests is that Laine's career is at a crossroads. He's only 25, but in hockey years, that's not young anymore. If he can stay healthy and regain his scoring touch, he could still have a solid career. But if the injuries keep piling up, it's hard to see a long-term future in the NHL. Here's the bigger question, though. What does Laine's story tell us about the NHL draft and player development? We put so much pressure on these 18-year-olds to be superstars, but the reality is that careers are unpredictable. Injuries, coaching changes, team dynamics, all of these factors play a role. Laine's story is a reminder that even the most promising careers can take unexpected turns. And that's what makes sports so compelling, right? The unpredictability, the human element. So where does Patrik Laine go from here? Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that his story is far from over. Whether he ends up on a team like the Islanders or Flames, or whether he's forced to rebuild his career overseas, Laine still has the talent to make an impact. The question is whether his body will let him. And that, my friends, is the million-dollar question. What do you think? Is Laine still worth taking a chance on? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep thinking, keep analyzing, and keep loving the game.